you guys can't foul. What's your confidence level and a guy like Nikhil to be able to pull off, pretty much a game-saving move like that?
Yeah, I mean, we know what kind of defender he is, and when you have guys that have that ability, there's times in the game where they raise their level, and that's what I saw. Just those situations are hard because whether you're switching or not switching, it just has to be great communication. It involves like really reading what's happening, and it was really good, as you said.
Coach, 4 players with over 20 or more points, 5 players in double figures. What does that say about the balance in this team?
We didn't think we were sharing the ball like we could have as much in the beginning of the game. And some of that was because they were cross-matched, they were switching 1 through 5. Some of those defensive game plans, because you don't see them all the time, take you a little while to get comfortable with. And I thought we kept our poise through the whole thing. We knew that defending was going to be the key for us, and we were able to do that at important times. So that's when, I think that's when you see that type of balance. Usually most of the time it's reflective of guys being unselfish and finding each other.
To that point, Coach, the last 3 minutes of the game, you were able to keep the Hornets scoreless. From your vantage point, what plays did you see that really impacted that?
I think in the fourth quarter, particularly prior to that time, we were having a hard time securing rebounds. And if there's anything that I think contributed to that, it was just kind of gang rebounding and our ability to secure possessions. And, so that was, and we took good care of the basketball again. There wasn't any bad shots. You're always going to get tough shots, late in the game. It's not going to be wide open as the other team is locked into. But I thought the defensive glass, and taking care of the ball, which are two things. If you look at statistically on the season, those haven't been strengths. So to have our guys focus on those two things and have it be that impactful was really good.
Coach, speaking of leaving people wide open, clearly the Hornets left Dyson open to shoot those threes a couple of times. He took a couple that didn't make them, but that didn't really affect his aggressiveness. He decided to go inside, hit a lot of floaters, season high 22 points.
Yeah.
I think he finished 10 of 17. So just for him, clearly teams are saying, we're going to give you that shot. But then instead of just settling for that, he decided to go downhill and made some big plays tonight.
It's a great point. I think sometimes teams want to bait you into an early shot. And, we were playing pick and roll with their 5 defensively, in the early part of the game. It did do that to a certain degree, but we're kind of, the way we play, if our spacing is, random at times. I think one of the things you found is Dyson, in the strong corner or kind of on the edge there, under the not deep under the basket. That allowed him to play off of other people. And then, as you said, you got to stay aggressive. Whether it's taking a shot or driving the basket. I thought he made really good decisions in there too. Because when you get it's crowded in there, he was able to. Sometimes it was just the threat of him passing out that created the shot. So that coverage, across match is not uncommon, and it'll help us. We've seen it in a couple other situations. We saw it against Rollins early in the game, but we saw it more tonight. And I thought our guys did a really good job of handling. It's very similar, as I said, to when people start switching. People say they did with Diabate and pick and roll. At first, it surprises you a little bit, but as the game progressed, that's where us playing collectively, I think, really helps.
Coach, I know Charlotte's probably not the fastest paced team, but you gave up 0 fast break points tonight. Do you feel like that's something that you're progressing with?
Yeah, it's a huge point of emphasis for us because I think there's been some games where we gave up points in the paint too much. That's been something people have really tried to do is drive us, but it's hard to prevent that in transition in the open court. So hopefully we can continue to do that even more in the half court and keep people out of the paint. But that takes a real discipline, not just to run back, but to not run with your man, which is just sometimes it's hard. It's just counterintuitive. You want to match up with your guy, and you really got to focus on not giving them anything easy, no matter who you're guarding.
You mentioned earlier taking care of the basketball. What is it about the way that Jalen plays that he can lead your team to 28 points and finish the game with turnovers?
That may have been the biggest, I mentioned the late rebounding. His decision making, is a huge thing for us. I know early in the game, last night he had a few, and he's really taken pride in it. I mean, it's, and defending are two areas of the game where he's watching a lot of tape. He looks at those two things as really areas that he can get better, and for him to do that tonight, usually, he's so, dynamic in transition, and some of the turnovers for him occur, more in the careless pass that I think he's just tightened up on, and then in the half court, being in situations where he's poised in the lane and, is patient and really is able to read the defense. It's kind of like a quarterback stepping up into the pocket, you just got to, read the whole game, and that's not easy, and he did it tonight.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay, we figured